Right, here's the thing, though. Let's just dive right into it, mate. Why were you benched? Are you too toxic or something? I've heard you're like too troublemaker. You can only have only perks allowed to tell everyone off. What is it? Which of this smorgasbord are you picking?
I mean, without saying too much, it's just I would say a bit of. I do think that in Spring Split I was being a bit hard to work with at times, and I do think that Mithy and I clashed a lot. So some context is that I think already somewhere in the start of Spring Split, like not start, but in the middle of Spring Split, Mithy was head coaching more than Rainover already then. So I was clashing a lot with Mithy. We had very different ideas of, team plays, and we were arguing a lot. Both Mithy and I are good friends, both of us. But both of us are very, not aggressive, but we can talk loud, talk fast, and be very passionate about what we're discussing. And some people got uncomfortable with it to the point where even Mithy told me that he himself was uncomfortable with me on a personal level. And I told him that was never my intention. My intention is always to get better and to win and improve as a team. And I think that it caused a lot of issues in the team, that not only with me, but also with others, that people in the team felt like they couldn't talk to each other about things that were triggering them, annoying them, whatever. And I was just, I guess, the biggest offender of that in Spring Split, at least. In some random worlds, it's a different story. I think that we were all on similar levels. But yeah, I think that I take some blame for Spring Split, and I had like a little bit of bad attitude. And, sometimes I would be really frustrated with how things are going, and I feel like we weren't taking scrims seriously at times, or like things were not going as well as they could be going. And yeah, I think that when Jack told me about it, he was like, yeah, it's non-performance related issues. And I think that I had some problems, and I think I worked on that in Academy with C9, and it went really well. So I think it was a decent break from each other, kind of. So.
Do you think that, because now with you as a coach, has the dynamic changed? Because for people who don't know, anytime I have Amazing on my shows, he always tells me the good old stories about OG. And he basically said what you're talking about here is why OG was a really good team, Origin. When he said you, Mithy, well, I mean, maybe not you as much back then, you were more of like a rookie, but, the others. He said they would just argue all the time, but like that was like the way you resolved problems in that team. You would sort of like, you knew the other guy could take it, and you push and see who wins the argument.
I do think I think that mix of personality is very different, because Amazing is also very direct and combative, and like I know Zven and Mithy are as well. So like when you make a group of those people, nobody actually gets offended. You just fight each other all the time, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, in Origin it was really extreme, because sometimes people would get so angry at each other they would like almost punch each other, or like one time we had an incident with Mithy and someone else where that person left the house and we couldn't scrim for a whole day because they were so angry. But at the end of the day, people took it to heart, and they actually improved on whatever caused the argument, right? So it is really important that you can talk like that to each other and actually improve from it. So I think there's some merit to it, but in Origin it was really extreme, and I think Mithy, Amazing were arguing a lot every day. Back then I was a rookie, so I was more like spectating, just watching it happen. Whereas people like Peke are more passive and good at keeping people calm, I suppose. And so as Mithy and Amazing could clash a lot as well. So I think it can cause issues, but in that team, everyone understood that everyone had the best intentions to win and improve as a team. So everyone saw through it, and we were also winning a lot. So you keep being in this permanent honeymoon phase where, we made Worlds, we made finals of Summer Split, we made fucking Worlds group stage now, quarterfinals, we made semifinals, great. Yep. So you keep dealing with the bullshit, even though the org is having a lot of issues, which... Don't get me started on this one, right? But you just keep allowing shit to happen to you because you're winning. Like you're in permanent honeymoon phase because of all the good things that are happening. So
that was the
world. About TSM. Oh, sorry, shit. We're on Origin now. My bad. Sorry, I heard that phrase and I just got lost for a second there. My bad. I zoned out.
That was the semi-final where Xpeke's mom slapped me.
Oh,
in a humorous manner, I hope you mean. Not like, how dare you? You mean she just did it in a cute way, like,
So it was funny. Like I thought it was actually hilarious. So we were at the semifinals in Belgium, and it was before you guys were playing. And like she obviously knew that I was from the Korean scene and everything like that. So I literally never met this woman before. She literally walks up and then slaps me and then hugs me.
That's how we say hello.
About TSM again. Are we? Fuck, it's still Origin. My bad. Right, sorry. I just hear phrases. I keep getting lost. Right, so slap and a hug, and he continued on. It was all fine. You played the game, right? Yeah, I get it. Okay. So.
Anyway, she's great. It was just it wasn't like a hard slap or anything, but it was adorable. Anyway, I appreciated that. But
someone shout, "How can she slap?" Yeah. Did anyone shout that? That's an old meme, but it's still a good one. It is still a good one. Look it up, kids.
Good shit.
Yeah, those were the times. Esports was very simple back in the day, and that was only like 6 or 7 years ago.
I know. I can't imagine what's going to be like 6 or 7 years from now. Maybe it'll be less stupid, so I don't have to make double-lift Reggie drama episodes. I want that world. I do. People.
Actually, I think Xpeke's mom has had an underrated impact on esports. One, she created Xpeke. That's fucking sick right there. Two, she slapped Monte Cristo in his ever-loving face. There's some fucking amazing. And then 3, she made that amazing fucking wallpaper or whatever it was back in there. So those 3, like that's a fucking hell of a top 3 right there. I'm telling you. Well done. Yeah, well played. All around talent. Anyway, bring it back. Right. Let's talk about maybe Zven at this point in time. Okay, let's bring it back. Cloud9.
Something. Cloud9.
What about this though? Like realistically, there was a position where Cloud9 might not have even gone to Worlds though, right? Was there ever a moment in the summer playoffs? Were you ever wondering like, fuck, are we just out of this? We're gonna go home?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look back at the series against TSM, we should have lost that series 3-0.
Yeah. Yep.
No, we should have. Yeah, we played like so fucking shit in that series, and they really threw it away super hard. And I mean, we also played bad. Don't get me wrong. That was a shit fest as best of 5. Like the fact that was best of 5, that went to 5 games and took so much time was actually disgusting. It was a terrible series from both sides. I remember we griefed game 1 super hard as well ourselves, and it was like just a really low level series overall. But yes, we were in a series like that. I think we should have gotten 3-0 for sure, and it was lucky for us to make Worlds. That's why I was saying that in Summer Split the stars kind of aligned for us to make Worlds and then make like groups as well. So I think the year's ending was very lucky. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to say. That was a series that I think we should have lost, but then in some strange universe, I think we should have beaten Thieves 3-0. Looking at our series against them, the first 2 games were actually free wins, and game 3 was a stomp in our favor. And I think that everyone always says like, "Oh, of course you'll say it was your fault, like, your mistakes that lost the game, not them playing well." But like in game 1, 2, we were in very heavily winning positions in both games, and we just kept griefing the games. In first game, we had terrible Baron call, lost the game instantly because we got aced. We killed 2 people and went Baron and got aced. FF. In game 2, both Perks and I made so many mistakes on his TF, and we just played so poorly from ahead. Kept dying before Baron, before Eldrake, both him and we lost. And in game 3, we stomped them. So looking back at it, like that playoff was such a disaster. And then somehow, Thieves 3-0 Team Liquid in finals. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I thought NA was doomed after the playoffs because we played bad, TL played horrible, and Thieves somehow won LCS. So yeah, that was
the way that's phrased. Okay, congratulations to 100 Thieves.
No, like by all means.
Sven is not a subtle man.
I like it. Somehow they won anyway. Question mark. Fucking 100 Thieves won the LCS. So who knows what happened then?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like, how the fuck did that happen, right? I think FBI actually had a really good series, and he played well overall this year and this summer especially. So I'm happy for him. But like, 100 Thieves weren't that insane in summer. I thought our series, we should have won. Like, we could have played like just a little bit better and we would have won for free almost. Like, those games weren't like good quality at all. The first 2 games when they won, and then game 3 was like a complete fiesta as well when we won the game, right? So I was like, what the fuck? And then when we lost the game, I was like, I was like in shock. And I looked at my teammates and they were like, what the fuck? We lost to 100 Thieves? We could not believe it with how we played and how they played. And then we were like, yeah, given that TL stomped us both in LCS previously and in scrims, we were like, yeah, there's no way that TL hasn't stomped them 3-0. And then TL got actually stomped 3-0, and 100 Thieves played well in the finals. So, yeah. But I think 100 Thieves...
It's not the most epic Worlds group of all time, though.
Yeah, and then one team went to Worlds, and they played, I think, pretty decent against T1.
They were all right,
EDG.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they were fine, given an NA team against, two of the favorites of the tournament. So,
Sure.
You can argue EG's, well, not argue, EG is the best team in the world, and T1 is second or third, right? So
yeah, it's not bad.
They're third, yeah, literally third. But yeah, so I think not bad given what they were given, I guess.
So one of the things that struck me about Cloud9 this year, and I'm curious to hear kind of now that the season is over, and it's all indications, even though you don't say anything, or that this roster that you guys had is not going to be running it back, as it were, because it was both fun and frustrating to watch you guys, because at your best, you were capable of hanging and taking games off some of the best teams in the world. And at your worst, you were like losing to Australia. So it was really hard to evaluate where you guys were, because we saw such a low floor, but also such a high ceiling. And I'm curious, because it seemed like it was rare that all of you guys were like on the same page with a game plan during the game, or like understanding how to execute your comp, or like four guys would know how to do it and one guy would like make some kind of bad mistake. But on an individual level, you saw, every player sometimes really stepping up and carrying games. So it was odd. It was very odd to watch. So what would you say was the process of like bringing this team together, and what were some of like the strengths and issues that you guys had overall?
I think I want to bring it back to what you talked earlier about Origin. I think that in every team, you must have either one of three things. Either every player can talk to each other directly to say, hey, I like when you sigh after you die. I don't like when you're being passive aggressive, whatever it is. Not saying anyone was, just saying if they are. I don't like when this happens, or blah, blah. You can give each other like the hard feedback that might hurt, might cause some issues, but ultimately it'll make you a better team. If you can't have that, you must have a coaching staff where you can talk to them and they will talk to the players through the, one player to coach to player. And if you can't have either of those things, then you must be winning everything. You must keep, using that. You have to be winning. True. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like no, in Origin, our team was a fucking mess. The org was a mess. Management, we didn't have any coach. We didn't have any, it was just a complete fiesta, right? But we were winning. So you kept riding that high all the time. So if you don't have any of these things, it causes build up. Let's say someone is fucking angry at me or someone else, and they don't let it out ever because they can't talk to me, because they, whatever reason, they can't talk to the coaches because they don't do anything or whatever, right? If you don't have a good structure, people will build up frustrations and then eventually make a wrong decision based on that. And I think that me being hard to approach in Spring Split, that's what I've been told from some players, is something I regret a lot, because I don't want my career to be hindered by personal stuff, like being an idiot or being a moron, right? Or being too emotional or whatever it is. That's fucking stupid. Like being banned in competitive play, like the Forgiven thing that happened to Gambit, is fucking stupid, right? Or like being hindered at team, like right now, Reckless maybe, is not something I want to happen to me, right? And I think that right now that's actually happened to me. I have a bad rep now for being toxic or whatever, and I don't want that to happen. I'm passionate for sure, and I care a lot, but I don't want my career to be hindered by that. So I think in Spring Split, Mitty and I were having a lot of clashes, which caused frustration between other players, and I think that we never really resolved that issues, and then it just carried over to MSI, and post MSI, I got benched out of nowhere, and even talking to the players, we were all like, yeah, I don't know, this was a mistake. And then I came back after 3 weeks, and I think those 3 weeks, we didn't really get anywhere from this whole thing. I think I improved in the academy, and I'm really happy that I did go to the academy, because I think it actually gave me a different point of view that helped us improve as a team. But I also think that we could have prevented all this kind of stuff from happening, and then used the MSI practice we got to do a Mad Lions. They went 3-2 in Spring Finals, and it was really close, and they were down 10k gold in Game 5, just should have lost the game to Rogue. And then in Summer Split Finals, they 3-0'd, and it wasn't even close, because they rode that MSI practice into Summer Split. And I think C9 could have done the same thing if we had been better at tackling our issues. And I think a lot of the issues were caused by me in Spring Split, but I think that we didn't do the necessary thing as a team to tackle it, so to speak, right? People didn't tell me how they felt until I was benched, and I'm like, oh, but I wasn't sure about this, these things. So I think that it's a lot of it's on me, but also on coaching staff and on everyone to talk to each other and be more, upfront about everything. That's a big issue for this year. And then for the player thing, I agree that we had a lot of issues. That one game perks ints, one game I int, one game Blabber ints. We had the whole MSI stuff. Like, we had a lot of inconsistencies that came from our scrim ethics. I think we never really got that down, how we want to play as a team. We always played a lot of instinct, a lot on like, I think I can outplay this, and then sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does. So often when you go to MSI or Worlds, it just doesn't work. You go for a 1v1, didn't work because this guy's better than what I'm used to playing against. So yeah, I think that we tried to outplay a lot when we shouldn't have. And Mithy, for example, always pushed for not ever trying to be better individually than your opponent, but just trying to play the team game correctly. That's something him and I had a lot of disagreements on. He wanted to do the safe play more often than not. But yeah, I think.
Do you think that mentality is necessary for NA because of the, it's hard to outplay people if your regular practice in terms of outplaying people is on the like NA solo queue, just because it's not as competitive, there aren't as many people, as other servers. So it's like, do you find it difficult because you so easily win in NA solo queue, let's say, or you so easily outplay people, but then you like hit Korean solo queue or EU solo queue, and it's like, oh wait, I didn't realize like this matchup actually plays out differently with some guy who's much better. Do you think that that's like a huge problem for NA, and do you think that Mithy's approach, like you have to kind of like prioritize the team play because you just can't get the practice you need in order to do the other thing?
On a solo queue note, I think that when I went to Korea in 2019 with Vulcan for like 3 weeks as a duo, and then we came back in December for scrims as a team.
Oh, you guys were great.
It made us so much better than it was. It helped that both Senna and Affiliates were released on that timing so that I could play these new champions against the best players in the world, and then come back to NA where people were slacking in off-season. They weren't going to boot camps. Everyone had disaster for off-season, and C9 stomped everyone because of that practice we had. And C9 has a very nice facility in Korea as well, so we were just smurfing really hard in that spring split. We were like, we're 17-1, 9-1 playoffs, and I think that Korean trip helped me and Vulcan as a duo so much. So I think, yes, solo queue is so much better in Korea. It's crazy. You can play from 9 in the morning to 3 a.m. Pro players all day. Solo queue times are lower, more players. It's low ping everywhere you are. It's really amazing. But I don't think it's necessarily holding NA back that much. I think the ping is an excuse that it's used a lot. It does help for sure.
No, I'm not saying the ping. I'm saying like just it's a smaller server with that's less competitive in terms of player
all
quality.
These things, ping, server population, queue times, all the things make the difference. But I think at the end of the day, it's not the only thing that's holding back NA. But I think it's great, Korean solo queue. So yeah, I do think they have an advantage there in terms of mechanics and skill as an individual. So I think back to the mindset thing we had is that we would often choose, let's say we have a lead and we can play the game, we can play slow macro and we will always win 99 times out of 100 times. Or we could maybe stomp the game by making a play that might be a little more risky, and then maybe we'll lose 5 or 10 games out of 100. We would often go for that play because we could outplay, and almost every time we would outplay it because we were good, right? We were mechanically gifted back then. Blabber on Olaf would go for 1v5, kill everyone. I'm like, oh, Blabber on Olaf, nice. So I think we kind of just, that's something that hurt us a lot in 2020. I think in 2021 it wasn't that big of a deal, but I can see the mindset carried over as well. I do it as well sometimes. I go for a play I don't have to go for, and it hurt me and us sometimes. I think that was a big problem for us at times, but I think the thing I mentioned first was a bigger issue that I had some issues with Mithy in Spring Split, and then we had Rainover coaching situation that had to change after MSI, and it felt like we didn't use us winning Spring and going to MSI to win Summer. We didn't use all this time we had to figure out who are we as a team in Spring Split, because I think Spring used to figure out how much you want to scrim, night blocks, workouts in the morning, whatever it is, and then you win the Spring Split and go to MSI, you should carry that over to Summer Split. And we didn't do that. We had I was benched for whatever reason, doesn't matter. And then we didn't manage to use all that practice to win summer. We actually got put backwards because we were first place from the spring split record that carried over the summer split, and we ended up in like, I think 5th place when I came back, and then I was not very good anymore because in academy I was stuck in the M-Time meta, and me and Vulcan got worse as a duo. It took us like weeks to get back to our normal level, and at that point duos like FBI and Huhi got a lot better. So yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff to do with the human stuff, I think, and that's something that made me realize that I don't want to have a career that's hindered by that. That's fucking stupid, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that's a mature attitude to have. I think what's interesting to me, though, about this whole scenario is like, because of the way that the off season worked this last time, and because of COVID and visas and everything like that, perks arrived right before Lockin, right?
Yeah.
Like days. And so a point that I made with you guys coming into Worlds is that basically if there were problems with the synergy of the team, you never have any time to actually fix that, especially if you go to MSI, because you cite, well, okay, we got this extra practice, but also you guys are just band-aiding problems week to week. You can't fundamentally change like the comm structure of a team unless you have like a month off, which you did before Worlds. But I pointed out, this is the only time you guys had to make real systemic changes was after summer and before Worlds, because you guys hit the ground running and you never stopped, right? And you referenced Mad Lions, but they also said, hey, we were exhausted after MSI, and you guys took a week off, I know. But that's not a lot of time, especially when you're adjusting to a post MSI patch. So, do you think the schedule is also part of it, where it's like you guys never really got to gel as a team? Whereas in typical years, you referenced this coming in before 2019, you and Vulcan spent a few weeks by yourselves in Korea, just working on your synergy. Like you said, playing games 14 hours a day. And then the rest of the team came and joined you, and there was a boot camp, and there was the time to kind of establish yourselves. But that just didn't happen for you guys this year.
Yeah, I mean, COVID made it impossible to go to Korea, and I think Canadians were actually banned from Korea for a while, so we always couldn't boot camp.
At least some good came out of it then. At least some good came out of it, you got to take the good rough with the smooth.
Yeah, so we couldn't go to Korea this year. Makes sense, right? But I think Lockin isn't so bad, actually. I don't mind Lockin at all. I think it's a good thing for teams to get started and incentivize teams being good in Spring Split, and also I think fans like watching Lockin tournaments. So I'm not against that at all. But I think having 3 game days a week is bad because it allows you to scrim less.
Yeah.
I think that scrimming, so currently it's Monday's off day for all teams in LCS. Then you have 3 scrim, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And you play LCS Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This means you have 3 distance scrims, which is 5 games a day for most teams. Some teams night block, but most teams don't do it. So you have 15 games a week of scrims to improve and
yeah. And I've explained this before to people, so I know some of you are tired of hearing this, but the reasoning is because when you have an extra day of competition, the problem with that is if you're playing best of ones and you have to go into the LCS studio 3 days a week, it takes time. It's just the logistics of it, of the team has to get ready, and then you have to go to the studio, and then you have to warm up in your practice room, and then you have to wait for the game to end, and then you have to go onto the stage, and then you have to do media obligations. So basically the fundamental time difference of playing a best of 1 or a best of 3 is negligible to professional teams, because it's like, well, there's so much time dedicated just to the logistics of being at the studio that, playing an hour-long game versus a 2 or 3 hour-long match is not really that big of a deal. But it does basically just destroy any kind of practice time that you have on one of those extra days. And the substitution for like a full day of practice is like a best of 1. And that's really shitty. So a lot of players have complained about this.
Yes, I think that's a bigger issue than Login Tournament. But I'm not sure what's the best format to keep Login and also have 4 scrim days for each team. I think night blocks aren't a good solution because, in my experience, I don't mind night blocks too much, but I think night blocks are almost never more productive than a normal scrim block. Normally in LCS, you scrim from 12 to 5 or 6, depending on how long the games are, or if you play 5 or 6 games. And night blocks would be at like 7 to 10, and they're not very productive compared to normal scrims. So I think the format change would increase the level of play in LCS if there was 4 scrim days, sorry, instead of 3. So yeah, I think it's a pretty big deal actually, and I think that, like I mentioned, going through the studio takes a lot of hours because you have to be there like 2 hours before for makeup and all this stuff, and COVID made it worse, and then you have to do interviews or features, blah blah blah, this kind of stuff. So yeah, it takes a lot of time to do broadcasts, even for one game that might take, half an hour, not even, right? So yeah, I think it's a big deal compared to the LCK's best of threes, which is in my opinion better format. But I understand why Riot doesn't like the broadcast differences or whatever it is that is causing them to choose best of ones over it.
What would you say about the dynamic between Blabber and Perkz? Because obviously a lot of the scrutiny was on Perkz coming in, that he's going to be like some captain that's going to turn the team around and establish the culture and all that jazz. But at the same time, like, Blabber won the MVP in the spring. So how did these two players, like, I don't know what your perspective is, but from the outside, it never looked like they fully got on the same page. Like, one game it would be all right, another game they'd seem like they were a bit disconnected. What was your perception?
I think at first they had a very good relationship together. I think Perkz is a very good, like you mentioned, captain. He's like a very nice person to be around. He's always having fun. He makes a lot of fun out of nothing, and he's a very positive person to be around. He's a good atmosphere person, whatever you call it. And I think that he worked well with Blabber. And I think that they are both people that work on instinct a lot. They sometimes don't think; they just see a play and go for it. Right? Perkz would. In his game against Rogue, the tiebreaker, the one game, he plays on instinct. He's just having fun in like a really tough situation. Like he will say, like in the middle of the game, like, guys, I'm fucking instinct, but it's fine. It's still free win. I'll carry, don't worry. And then he carries the game, right? So he brings a lot of positive atmosphere to the team, both in game and outside the game, for the most part, anyways. And I think with Blabber and him, they were both a lot of forwardness, whereas in some jungle duos, it's, how do you say this? It's like kind of like a support and sort of like a Hillsong and Reckless, right? One guy is one guy's going in every second of the whole game, and the other guy's a bit more laid back, holding them in a good balance.
Yes.
Whereas Blabber and Perkz are more like, both people are full forward, right? All times. And I think that when that works, they're really, really good. And I think that when Blabber comes to like engages or carries, I know he will always find the angles to go in. I think Perkz is the same on champs like LeBlanc or Silas. He finds the X factor. But I think at times that's too much forwardness. And when it comes to like control mages and tanks, them as a duo isn't that amazing. When it comes to going forward, Assassins, Yone, LeBlanc, Silas, these champs, I love Perkz and Blabber as a duo. So I think they were good as a duo. I think that both Perkz and Blabber and Niska and Blabber were really good duos in my time with them.
By the way, just on that point you said there about like the Perkz angle, where in the Rogue game he like was obviously like super clutch, and he even gave the little mini speech of like, we'll carry this game or whatever. That everyone thinks he was just a fan. Like anyone can just say that. Anyone could give a little speech before a game, or they can say something cool from a movie. But like obviously we're talking now about like the intangibles of what does a person bring to the team and what's their mentality. What you've played with Perkz in 2 different teams. What's different about him from other players you've played with in that sense? Because people think you're just making a movie story when you say that stuff. But I've heard from other teammates of his that he is the guy. It's like he just knows the moment when to say the right thing,
Yeah, I mean, on the Rogue note, like he just said in Champs Select already, this game is fucking free win. We have a good draft. I have LeBlanc. It's so fucking good for us. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Goes in game. He makes one mistake. It's like, fuck man, I'm anything. It's fine though. One more time he dies. Third time he dies. He's like,
now.
He's like, I'm trolling. I'm like,
good. I like it. Yeah.
He's like, he gets caught for the 3rd time in the game. He's laughing about it. He's like, wow, I'm really into guys, but it's fine. I'm gonna carry anyways.
It's all fine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then he carries the game, right? Like, cool. Okay, that's
I like that. Yeah.
That's like Perkz in a nutshell, right? And then for how he changed in G2 to now, he matured first of all, but he also got more of an ego / a demand. He knows what he wants now. He wants this type of team. He wants he always talks about what he needs in the game and what champion he wants to play, what he doesn't want to play. He's a lot more decisive and demanding, both in the game, outside the game. He talks about, he really needs to have his off day. He wants to have time to do what he wants to do and freedom to go oink for a day or whatever. So I think he matured a lot as a person, and he grew a lot. Is kind of how I would put it. And yeah, I think he's an enjoyable person to work with. And I think that in the moments when most people feel pressure, he's just having fun, laughing in his chair. Whatever we're winning or losing, he's bringing a positive vibe, I guess, to other people that might need it because they're not feeling as comfortable in that moment, right? So I think that's something unique about him that not many people I play with can do. I think Xpeke had a similar thing where he would when he was there, things were just better. Even though Power Evil didn't do anything wrong. It's just having him near you made people feel better. They are more comfortable. They're more relaxed or whatever. So it's like some sort of aura that some people just have. Some positive.
Magic the Gathering effect. This units within this area.
Yeah. Exactly. Like some sort of positive vibe that they just bring by doing nothing. They just exist. So, yeah.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.